Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. We are back in the Mazda MX5 for the production car challenge and yet another track guide. Now, as this series is fully open setup, if you want to race the exact setup I'm driving in this track guide, you can go to our website sambosetups.com or our Patreon page, where I'll link to both in the description. Now, any questions, let me know in the comments, but please note the track conditions and the track state and temps are already shown in the overlay. Anything else, do let me know and I will see you in a second. And here we are, smashing it over and across the start-finish line. On the left-hand side, looking for the end of these ad hoardings. Now we're going to get on the brakes to about 40%, trail it off, back on the gas at 100% ahead of the apex. Exit nice and wide. We can't do too much further out left than that. Now we're going to look into this little dip that we've got here. On the brakes to about 40% again. Trail it off, back on the gas. You're going to feel the back kick out a little bit. You just control that with the throttle. Now, we can take turn 4 here absolutely flat, but what I found was lifting, little lift as we get to these cones, and then back on the gas allowed me to have a wider entry into turn 5. And what I gained from going flat through turn 4, I was losing in turn 5, but this was the fastest I found to get through here. We're going to go back over to the right-hand side. Now at this elbow, we're going to move across, get on the brakes to about 60%, trail it off down to first, carry that speed through, exit nice and cleanly. I'll be able to show you the line a little bit better in the breakdown. Now, as we come up to the chicane, in between the 100 and the 50, on the brakes, down to second gear, little blip of gas, little blip of brake, and now we go back through. Little lift as we go through Knickerbrook there. Going to go flat here through turn 13 and 14. Now, as we get to the furthest part on the left-hand side, on the brakes to about 30%, again, slide it through, back on the gas, nice and early in third gear, exit nice and wide, just about nailed that. And then our final braking halfway between that turn right sign and the marshal. So again, I'll show you in the breakdown, on the brakes to about 80%, down to second gear, exit nice and wide. And then over and across the line we go in a 50.9. So this test session was loaded from the schedule. Track temps 19.4 degrees. I was about 6 or 7 tenths faster on this setup than I was using the fixed. Certainly felt nicer and more repeatable though. We have the breakdown lap coming up next. Breakdown lap, I will try and show you all my markers. This is low on fuel with really nice warm tyres. So our first braking marker where we're going to get on the brakes is just as we get to the start of this jordanbikes.com signage on the left-hand side. We get on the brakes briefly, I hit 40% there, and now I've dropped it down into third, going to trail it off, and I start picking back up on the gas nice and early ahead of the apex. So by the time I'm actually on the apex, I'm back at 100%. Now you want to get your right-hand tyre just to the right-hand side of those white sort of nodules that are on the apex curbing. And if we get it right, we're going to exit out here. Now, we used to be able to go all the way out wide, but this is about as far as you can go without getting the off track. You got to keep half of your car over this, or at least half the car over the track. Now, for turn 3, what we're looking for is just ahead of us. You can see where the road, I mean, it's all going downhill, but you can see it goes into a little depression. Now, as the car goes into that depression, that's good. It means as the car lands down, all the weight is going to be over the front tyres and you're going to get slightly more grip. So that's where we're going to do our braking again to about 40%. We're going to turn in, trail it off. You can see the back kicking out a little bit. And because the back starts kicking out, I get back on the gas to control it. Just steering our way through there, holding it, exit nice and wide. Just got to get used to it going through there, and it does need to be on warm tyres. On cool tyres, you do have to be very, very careful. Start of a race, things like that, second lap maybe as well. So for this next corner, turn 4, we're going to go past these cones, and then we're going to do a little lift down to about 70% and then back on the gas. We want to just kiss this rumble strip with our front left tyre, but we don't want to run over this grass here, which I'm not doing. I'm nice and tight to it because there is an off track for doing that. We're already back up at 100%. And what I'm looking to do is try and give myself the widest possible entry into turn 5 so I can carry the most speed through. I'm going to start getting back on the brakes once we get to the end of this tyre wall on the left-hand side. You can see that there. Once that hoves out of view, we get on the brakes to about 75%, and now we're going to hold it and trail it off. I drop it down to second and then down to first, and once I get in this nice little cambered area here down at the bottom, I start getting back on the gas. I get up to 100% nice and early using that camber, exit nice and wide. Now for the first chicane, what we're looking for is we're going to sort of start our turn in at the apex of this white line on the right hand side. So we're going to start our turn in, and immediately I'm going to start looking to roll onto the brakes. Ideally, I want to get my left-hand tyres to the left-hand side of the curb, so in between the curbing and the tyre wall there. I go up to a maximum of about 55–60%, so I'm just braking in a straight line, making sure that I can get over this, and I'm holding it there, drop it down to first whilst I've still got relatively straight steering, trail it off, get nice and tight to that tyre wall on the right hand side, and then we look to get back up to 100% as early as possible. Run over that curbing on the left hand side on exit. Now for the second chicane, slightly different. We're going to go through in second gear, and our braking marker is going to be after the 100, before the 50, exactly where I am now. And again, straight onto the brakes, roll up to about 85%, hold it there, trail it off. I'm going to do a blip of gas in second gear in between the first and the second sets of tyre bollardy things. I get briefly up to 100%, and then immediately I'm off the gas. I get on the brakes to about 20% and immediately drop it down to first gear and start picking back up on the gas just when we're alongside this tyre wall. I get up to 100%, give myself a nice wide entry into turn 12, and just a little lift down to about 50–60%, and then back on the gas once I'm through there. If you go too early, you can exit off into the grass. I did actually take it once absolutely flat, but it was not repeatable for somebody of my skill level. Right, for turn 15, what we're looking to do is once we are all the way over, you can see this white line on the left-hand side. Once it is at its sort of apex over to the left, that's when I'm going to get on the brakes, and again, not overly braking, up to about 30–35%, and again, trailing it off, picking back up on the gas at the end of the first set of curbing, straight up to 100%, so that when we go through the second, we're absolutely flat. If you do it right, you're going to exit nicely onto the rumble strip without going into the grass. And our final bit of cornering, we are going to be on the brakes midway between this turn right sign on the left-hand side, and then you've got this marshal's post coming up here, marshal's post number 22, and this is where we get on the brakes, so this is what it should look like. And again, on the brakes briefly up to about 80%, hold it there, trail it off down to second. We want to just kiss this rumble strip with our right-hand tyres as we go through. Get up to 100% fairly early on, can be a bit slippy. And that is the breakdown lap in the Mazda MX5 with the Sambo setups at Oulton Park International. We've got one final version coming up next with the driving line on, and without me talking, enjoy.